Okay, I went ahead and opened up the two images in Photoshop, the main grenade body and the grenade ambient occlusion pass. So just drag the ambient occlusion pass into the grenade body. You can exit it. And I have snapping on. So it's easier to just snap and position our AO pass. Rename that layer AO and double click the background layer and name it UVs. I also want to import our reference image and move it to the top. Alright, so I want to create a base to base our texture off of. So create a new group, name it base, move it below the UV and AO layers, and press Ctrl Shift N to create a new layer and name it color. And we're just gonna zoom in and sample a dark color from our reference image. That looks pretty good. And desaturate it. And select the color layer and press Shift F5 to fill that layer with our foreground color. Alright. So just to create some basic texture, create a new layer, and we're going to load up the brushes that are going to be in the archive. Just go to press F5 and then select this one right here and select replace brushes and just select the grunge brushes. I got them from getbrushes.com. Great site if you want to get some grunge or maybe some signs and symbols or maybe even some tech brushes. So select this brush right here and press D to reset our colors and then X to make white our foreground color and just start painting. Oh, actually we want to change a couple settings. Press F5 again and select shape dynamics, and we want to jitter the size at 100% and the minimum diameter we want set to 25%. We also want to jitter the angle at 100% and we don't want to jitter the roundness at all. And put scattering on and make sure both axes is on, the count down to 1 and the scatter to 290. Alright, now begin just painting some white. You can press tab if you want more space to get rid of our palettes. And instead of erasing, we're going to create a mask to preserve the details so that we don't actually have to go back and repaint anything if we lose anything. Press F5 again, and this time put the count at 6. Make sure your foreground color is black because we're painting in the mask, and black masks and white reveals, which is why the default mask is at white and it shows the layer shows through. But if we paint with black, it starts to mask out the layer. And just start painting. You can just try to make it as subtle as possible. We don't want to make it really obvious because it can look pretty bad when you're texturing a little too much. Create a new layer, and this time make sure the foreground color is black, so press D. And for the shape, select this brush right here and start painting. Just like we did with the first layer, create a mask and start painting black. And turn the opacity down to maybe 10%. and the last layer is also going to be white. And this time we're going to use this brush right here, the 179 brush. And we're going to decrease the size a little bit. Use the left square bracket and the right square bracket to change the brush size, or you can just go into the brush settings and just turn them down. .145 should be good. And just start painting white, and we almost forgot. Bring the countdown back to 1 and start painting white. Alright, again create a mask, and this time instead of painting we want it to be really subtle, so we're going to use the actual image as a mask. So go up to Image, Apply Image, and we want the white to be black, so invert it. And then decrease the opacity somewhat. And then press Ctrl-L to bring up levels, and we're going to tweak them. Just to add some really subtle noise. Alright, so we've got our base set up, and it's time to bring the AO layer back and set it to multiply. Alright, and the UV layer to overlay. The reason why I'm setting it to overlay is because part of the layer right here is 50% gray, and 50% gray is the middle ground, so it doesn't show up when you set the layer to overlay. It's kind of like when you set a black layer to a screen or a white layer to multiply. For now, just hide the UV layer and select lock image pixels and lock position on both of them, so that we can't paint or move the image, but we can change the blend mode. Alright, first things first, we have to import 2 images, so go to File, Open, Photos, and select the Plaster Bear and the Rust Paint. Both of these are from cgtextures.com. Just drag both of them in. Select both of them, press Ctrl-G to put them in a group and name it Storage. I like to have a folder where I store all the images that I know I'm going to be reusing. So select the bare plaster layer and hold down Alt and drag up to duplicate it, and select the rectangular marquee tool and just drag out the main body of the grenade and add it as a mask to the image, and unlink them, because when we move the plaster around we don't want to actually move the mask around as well. And it'd probably be a good idea to scale it down. Alright, so set the layer to overlay and that looks fine, but it looks like all we did was add an image. And we only want certain parts of the image, the lighter parts of the image and the darker parts, to mix and match with the base layer. So double click the layer to go into the blending options, and right here in the blend if box, start dragging the white box until the the lightest parts of the image start to disappear a bit. And to blend it a little bit more, hold down Alt and drag the two handles until you get a finer result. You can also drag in this handle on the underlying layer to try and blend it a little bit more, and then set it to overlay and desaturate it by selecting the layer and pressing Ctrl-Shift-U. Alright, that looks pretty good. Duplicate the second image and Alt and drag the mask onto that second image and scale it down. Alright. First things first, desaturate the image, and then, just like we did with the first image, double click it to go into blending options and start dragging this handle until the lightest parts of the image start to disappear a bit. And set that to multiply. Oops, multiply. And it'd be a good idea to turn the opacity down. Okay. And we want to start to paint on this layer. So select the brush and make sure your foreground color is black, and start to erase parts of the image. Maybe turn scatter up. And nice little trick to add a little bit of definition when you add in a photo texture. Go to blending options and add a little bit of outer glow, and select the color, make it darker, and set the blend mode to multiply. And we can start to see, as we move the opacity of the slider, we get a little bit more definition in the textures. I'm going to keep it at 75%. Alright. That looks a little good. One thing to remember is that metal is not 100% black and white, so add a photo filter adjustment layer. Just select the yin yang image at the bottom of the layers palette, select photo filter and a cooling filter. 82 should do good, actually. Let's do 80, and bring the density down to say 5%. Also, I want to increase the contrast a little bit, so create a curves adjustment layer. And switch them off just so we can see a little bit better when we're working. You might want to put them in a adjustments group. So you can switch them on and off at once. Alright, we're going to create another group. This one's going to be, we're going to name it slight damage. And we're going to be adding a little bit of scratches to the edges of the body. So create a new layer, name it random. This is going to be our random scratches. Also duplicate the layer mask onto the group, and for the random just select brushes, and this time select the 3-pixel brush, and again using the square brackets or this dialog right here, make the radius of the brush a little bit more appropriate. 1 pixel should be fine. And create straight lines. We're going to click and then shift click at our next point, and just start doing this to create some random lines going across the side of the grenade. And in addition to the mask that's already on the group, we're going to add a mask to the random layer and start painting some black. At 60% opacity. Then switch it to 40% and press X to switch it to the foreground color white, and start painting some white and then some black. And as we continue to do this, we start to get more variation. In the scratches, we want them to be really subtle, and actually we can add a little bit of contrast by making sure we have the mask selected, pressing Ctrl M to bring up curves, and making them a whole lot more subtle. Alright. And now for the edges, we're going to create a new layer. Name this edge. And going back to the 3-pixel brush, we're going to use the square brackets, but this time only bring the radius down to 2. And start painting on every single edge, which actually wouldn't happen in real life, but we are just going to add every single edge and then paint a mask to make sure they're more realistic. Whoops. Just start painting scratches on every single edge, even though in reality not all the edges would be exposed this much. It's kind of tedious. I could pause it, but it's not going to take that long. So we'll just keep recording. And don't forget this one edge right here. Alright. First thing first, we want to get rid of these parts right here. So select the marquee tool and start selecting where you know for sure there wouldn't be any scratches. Probably be a good idea to hide the layer. Add a mask, but it added that as white, so invert it. You select it, move down the selection, Shift F5, fill with white. Actually, that's not going to work. Looks like we're going to have to select them by hand. Oops. Alright, press Shift F5. Let's just add to this selection. Hold down Shift to add to a selection. Alright, press Shift F5 and fill with black. And now we'll start using the grunge brush to add to the mask. So select your brush and go back into scattering, make sure it's at 6, and select the 172 brush, looking nice and cloudy, and start scratching at, start masking 60%, then bring it back at 60%, and keep doing the inverse until we get some variation. Alright, set the scratch later overlay. And using levels, I just want to tweak it a little bit. Alright. Alright, so take all of that and put it in a group, and we'll name that main, seeing as that's the main part of the grenade body. And now we're just gonna do the same thing but on the top and bottom, so it should be a lot easier.